And one of the things that can't be attacked is your self-custody Bitcoin. And one of the things that can be attacked is the ETF. You can't be exposed to that. That's my view. It's not a good idea. And by the way, that'll hit MSTR too. It'll probably hit other stuff as well.
Friends and enemies, welcome back. Canadian Bitcoiners Podcast.
Friends and enemies, welcome to the CBP. Wanna be better informed? Listen to Len and Joey. Sponsors taken care of right off the top. Bull, Bitcoin, and easy DNS. The media is feeding the slop. It doesn't matter what topics discussed. Quality entertainment and information you can trust.
That's being planned or at least discussed. You know, we're not going to allow
quality entertainment and information you can trust. Send the guy some value, boost them with some stats. Bitcoin is a scarcity asset. I mean, it's just a fact. Geopolitical, national, down to the local cloud.
Friends and enemies, welcome back to another edition of the Canadian Bitcoiners Podcast. My name is Joey. That's Len. Buddy, what's going on over there? How the heck are you?
Wonderful. Enjoying the weather. Enjoying whatever is thrown at me. It's great.
Great.
Isn't it? Isn't it fantastic?
Yeah, it is great. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, the funny thing, yesterday it was claiming to be 34 and super hot and all. But because the humidity was rather low, it was very tolerable. It didn't take very much to, sit outside, walk around, do stuff.
Yep.
People, they look at a number, they get freaked out. Man, it's not that bad. It's actually very pleasant. And
I don't mind being outside in this weather at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Even if it was super humid, I wouldn't mind. In 2 months, I'll be dying for this weather to come back. So it's here for just a brief moment, and I thoroughly enjoy it. So that's my thing, Joey. How are things with you?
I'm great, man. I had a great day today. Good work day. Had a good workout after work, and played some college football 26, which released today. If you pre-ordered, which I did, obviously. Fantastic game. They get so much right about that game. I have high hopes for Madden this year too, but that's basically how I spent my day. To your point about heat, you know what's funny? Kenzie and I always think about whether or not my daughter's going to be warm when we take her out. We usually go for a walk at like 7:30, 7:45-ish in the morning. And this morning it was like blazing hot. She didn't care at all. The babies are so resilient. You know, you think you're going to have to give them a fan and shade them up and all this stuff. And we do, she does have shade in the buggy and there is a fan we don't often use, but she just doesn't care. The baby doesn't care. She's just happy to be out there.
Was it hot? I'll be perfectly honest.
It's 27 according to my phone, probably hotter in the sun. If
I was sitting in the shade working this morning, and I no joke, because it was windy, I was cold.
Really?
If I had a sweater, I would have put it on. Like, it just felt chilly.
Yeah.
I'm very warm-blooded. It's got to be super hot for me to enjoy it. But this morning, it was just, I felt cold. I don't know why. And I was up until 10:30.
10:30 is when it gets like unbearably hot. I mean, I'm speaking for myself here, obviously. I like being hot, but a lot of people I know, like people we work with, for example, oftentimes are talking about the heat being unbearable. You and me, I think, are in the same boat. It's cold like 8 months out of the year these days,
Yeah.
And so I am very, very slow to complain about humidity.
Interesting fact, Joey.
Yeah, sure.
In Toronto, because I'm using that as a guideline because it's a major area next to us, the amount of days that are over 30 degrees Celsius, which I think is 86 Fahrenheit, it's gone down since 2019. Wow. 2019, every year since then, 6 straight years, it's been going down. Number of days over 86 Fahrenheit or 30 Celsius. So make that what you want.
Yeah.
So many people say it's good.
I can't say, or I'm not saying anything, but I mean, you know what I think.
Hey, I asked, and I went to AI. I asked it to chart for me the average daytime high in July for the month of July for Toronto for the last 40 years. You know what, Joey? Flat. The daytime high for the month, flat.
It's not a surprise.
No change.
Not
Not
up,
up, not down.
not a surprise.
Flat.
People talking about these floods in Texas too, like tragic, obviously, especially these poor kids at these camps. But a lot of people, taking this time to, I guess, dunk on, Texas Republicans, saying this is what happens when you take money from a service XYZ and put it toward ICE. And, people online wishing everyone except Trump supporters well during the flood. I mean, there's dead kids here. somebody pointed out that if you look back at the history of sort of, extended extreme rain events in Texas, you basically get something like this every 10 years or so, or 12 years or whatever,
You're
dating back hundreds of years.
You heard of the Dust Bowl, right?
I haven't, no.
So right after the Great Depression started, 1930, 1931, in Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, Colorado, parts of just huge area, they suffered a drought, and this drought happens periodically. The drought lasted almost 10 years, and because of the fact that they farmed all the area, they got rid of the natural grass that typically holds in the moisture. They just farmed it, not thinking that there's droughts periodically every few years. All the fucking shit just started blowing up in the air and created this huge dust storm that lasted for many, many weeks, months. Wow. And in fact, some of the dust blew as far as to New England. That's how far it went. And so they figured it out. There were some variations, abnormalities in the Pacific and the Atlantic that caused these droughts to happen 100 years ago. Shit happens. Yeah. Right? It's just periodic. It just fucking happens.
It's funny, Jason in the chat and Boom Dust kind of going back and forth here on the temperature readings. I said to my wife the other day, I don't know how many people realize that the temperature reading for most major cities is at an airport. So, you get a lot of concrete. That concrete is obviously very hot, radiates heat, and you get an extremely, varied experience, let's say, on something where the heat is hot, where the temperature is warming up a concrete pad. We played football on Saturday up at Bluff on the mountain. That's a turf field. Couldn't take our shoes off after the game. Had to go change in the grass. The turf was too hot. If you had a thermometer there, you'd get a reading that was significantly higher than you would have, even if you went to a park that wasn't shaded and it was more grass than concrete, obviously, right? And, not to get into weather conspiracies here, but the idea that we, around the same time we started taking readings at airports, we started to get run-ups in temperature, like
that has to end. You see, you could add an extra few degrees.
Yeah.
But then you stop adding a few degrees because you can't move that to another
It doesn't
place.
Exactly. It doesn't keep moving in that direction. It doesn't scale.
Wait
right?
50 years and then you'll, oh shit, it flattened out. What the fuck happened? Well, so whatever. It is what it is. Let's do the sponsor, Joy.
Sure, yeah. EasyDNS, best place for you to host your content, buy a domain, register a domain. Mark is your friendly neighborhood registrar. Len, you know that EasyDNS has everything you need in terms of security, ease of use, whether it's EasyMail, domain, sure, a couple extra bucks for those things. But I mean, who wouldn't want to pay that given that everywhere you look, people are getting scammed, data is being stolen. We do the Access of Easy podcast, obviously the latest and greatest in data breaching and overreaching. And every week there's stories to talk about. You want to protect yourself. And most importantly, especially if you're running a business, you want to protect the people who are patronizing your business. And Mark takes care of that for you over at EasyDNS, not to mention the virtual private server suite of options and services there. If you're a Bitcoiner, BTC Pay Server, Nostr Relay, Bitcoin node, many options. And then Len, don't forget, you can pay in Bitcoin if you want to part with some of that hard money. Mark will take it. And he was doing Bitcoin balance sheet long before it was cool. No one named Natalie Brunel on his board. He did not enlist Will Clemente III to pump his company, did it all himself.
Surprisingly, Joey, those are people I've muted a long time ago. I totally forgot about Will's name. I muted a lot of these people. Just
the kid analyst, man, the kid analyst. So if you want to support Mark, you should. I mean, Mark's a great friend of the show. He's a good Bitcoiner as well, and obviously a great partner of the podcast. So patronize him. CBP Media is the code. 50% off your first round of buys. And I mean, he's got a cashback guarantee. I don't know anyone who wants a money back offer from Mark and EasyDNS, but you got that too. Can't beat it. So go over there and take a look and see what he's got.
Somebody said that they signed up to EasyDNS because the fact that he's based. That's their only reason why they.
I want to see. I think we should have a shirt made for Mark that just says "based" in Helvetica font across the middle there.
Do it.
I have to think about it. We should just make those shirts. I don't know. That might be
we'll just do it rogue.
That's kind of a niche market, but we are due to sell some merch. We sold all those miners when Decentral Tech made them. We sold all our t-shirts. I think there's like maybe one double XL in my spare bedroom or something. And we sold a bunch of those no coiners of the week. No Coiner Hall of Fame shirts, relics of a early podcast, right? But I do think we should do another run pretty soon. I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to do something. Keep an eye out for that. Maybe in the fall.
Some footballs.
Sure. Yeah, you want me to? Couple
Signed.
CBP balls, mudded and prepped. Who's the other sponsor?
Well, it's Bull Bitcoin, and apparently something will be coming out soon. Francis has been teasing something
Tomorrow,
on-
I think. Tomorrow.
Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure what it is. I could speculate, but don't want to in case I'm wrong. Either way, what are you gonna do with the Bull Bitcoin? You're gonna buy your Bitcoin. You're gonna sell your Bitcoin. Those are the things you could do with them on chain. You do Lightning. Still, the blocks are not full at all. Like they're so empty. So continue to do your on-chain buys. This is the way to do it right now. But there'll be a coming point in time that maybe it's not going to be very cheap, and you want to use Lightning, and Bull Bitcoin has you covered. Not just that, they give you the ability to use Bitcoin as money, so you can start paying your bills. You could use your bill service to pay whatever bill you have that's outstanding. You could e-transfer Bitcoin to somebody's account. That's fucking cool if you ask me. So if you want to pay somebody, you don't have to send them cash. You can send them, well, it would be from Bitcoin into cash. That's fucking cool. A lot of good things you could do with Bull Bitcoin, and they're not custodial. You do not want an exchange that holds on to your Bitcoin. These guys, in order to facilitate a buy, you got to provide a Bitcoin address. Could be fake, but you have to provide something in order for them to facilitate the buy. So that's what you want. These guys are the best in the business, and not only that, they are in Canada, Mexico, Costa Rica, parts of Europe, and maybe more soon. Who knows?
Yeah.
So open an account. Our referral code is below. Check it out. If you haven't done so, do it. Open an account.
You see the pictures of Francis is posting of him, like, what did he tweet the other day? I had to laugh about that while I was taking a shit, to be honest with you, Francis. This picture of him, like, you can just go work in the middle of the jungle and disrupt the global financial system while you have a hot dog or something like that. And then today he's tweeting pictures of like his Starlink and his hot dog on a grill by a lake. Like, just so great. Bitcoin enables so many great things, and Bull Bitcoin obviously doing tons with those opportunities. So yeah, we're happy to have them as a sponsor. Shall we go to the boost, sir?
Yeah, three of them that noteworthy. I have the Sats King, 313 Sats. And he, she, or whatever writes in, paper Bitcoin may be the red-headed stepchild for Bitcoiners, but it is a member of the family. During the cold, harsh winters, it is given the coldest room in the house because it is the outcast of the family. I guess.
That's good. I like that. Hey, put that on the short list for t-shirts. We can maybe work on that. Yeah, that's true, man. You may like it or not like it, but something going on with those companies. Yeah, something going on with those.
Mo BTC Dick, 500 Sats. And he writes in, seeing tons of talk about Caspa on X makes me sick.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of talk about Caspa. I don't know why.
Been a while, but I mean, it depends, right? If you click it or tell people they're stupid, then it'll obviously feed you more Caspa content. I've not seen a ton, but I am seeing a little bit. People in the altcoin space, by the way, like desperate for a rotation here, and they don't seem to be getting it. So I don't know what the plan is if you're an altcoin enthusiast, but it doesn't seem to be a winning strategy this cycle, at least not so far.
Wait it out, I guess. Or I know my personal opinion is fucking sell it.
Yeah,
convert it to Bitcoin and just go from there. Carney 4PM, 666 Sats.
Wow.
And he writes in, elbows up did a great job flipping pancakes at the Stampede.
Did you see the video of him flipping the pancakes?
Yeah, it splattered a little bit.
Yeah,
kind of like
he dropped. Yeah, he dropped one.
I didn't see the dropping. I saw him just flip it. And
I don't know how hard it is to flip those pancakes. Maybe if I ever make some on my Blackstone, I'll report back. But I'll say this, okay? I give the Prime Minister credit for going to that event. His predecessor did not go.
Yes, he did.
The most recent year, last year, I don't think he did. I don't think he went. And so I mean, someone can fact check me on that, but in my head, I feel like he did not go to, if not the entire thing.
He did miss it, yeah. He missed the Calgary Stampede.
So, okay, so he didn't go. That was probably a very hostile crowd. That crowd is as hostile now, I think, as it was then, if not more so. And he still went. Now, his media team did a great job slowing down his entrance and overriding the crowd boos with some kind of sort of, hall orchestra, symphony, dramatic music. But I saw the video of the entrance without the added sound. Pretty brutal. That crowd did not want him there and did not like him, but he still
What
went
a
anyway.
terrible heel. Take the booze, man, and just run with it.
Yeah, kudos to him. Kudos to him. So we'll see.
I think it's 29 years ago today that Hulk Hogan turned his back on everybody and joined the NWO. So he should have did that. He should have
good bit of commentary there from you.
Yeah.
Should we do some housekeeping? We may as well.
Mm-hmm.
This Friday on the show, 1 p.m. Eastern, Stockwell Day is going to come on the program.
Ooh, Mr. Day.
And
so the Honorable Mr. Day.
The Honorable Mr. Day, that's right. And we are going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about his time as Alberta Treasurer, mostly because, well, for a few reasons, but the big one, I think, and actually our friend Lanik, said this to me as well. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about Alberta separation, and I want to talk about that with Stockwell. And the reason is because as a treasurer for that province for some time, he's got a little bit of insight into what really goes on in terms of equalization payments and, what someone claiming that Alberta can separate and do it sort of in a fiscally responsible way. What are they getting right? What are they getting wrong? And so I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about the Poilievre campaign, where things went wrong there, among other things. Obviously, he's a guy who's been in politics a long time. He was the Treasury Board Secretariat, or what do you call it? President of the Treasury Board? Is that what that position is? He was that for a while. He was the Alberta Treasurer, obviously.
And he was a Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness,
yes.
I believe.
He
was the leader of the Canadian Alliance at the time when he was trying to run for Prime Minister in 97.
He's got quite a resume. So he's been in the Conservative Party, the Canadian Alliance, obviously, and I'm looking forward to talking to him. I may actually wear a collared shirt that day, Len. It feels like that's a guest you have to wear a collared shirt for. I don't know. I thought about it for the mayor of Vancouver too when Ken Sim came on, but
his worship wasn't worshiping enough.
Yeah, I don't know if that one. Plus, I didn't really know what to expect there, and I'll level with you. We wanted Stockwell. We were able to get him through a friend of the show, Rob. Thank you. And he shares a lot of the same concerns, having spoken to him a little bit via text over the last few days. Yeah, that's going to be a really good show.
Now,
next week, go ahead.
Before you go, just remember, Rob does have a few things he'd like to get asked.
I have them all.
So, yeah. Rob, there you go. So those questions, they are passed on to the person that's going to be asking them, and hopefully you get answers to them. So
I think it'll be fun. And I think, having listened to Stockwell on a few different media appearances over the last, month or so, while I was building up the courage to send him a text message, because I had that number for, I don't know, probably a month. And then looking at his tweets and, other sort of things that he said and done, I don't think he's going to be very guarded, honestly. I think he's going to be open with his opinions and the things that he thinks and the things that he sees. And I'm looking forward to talking to him because he's a really sharp guy. He's been a sharp guy for a long time. And I think he was right about a lot of things before everyone else was really to admit it, or ready to admit it, I should say. So looking forward to that. Next week, we're going to talk to the guys and gals maybe from Learning Bitcoin, everyone's favorite new, they don't want to call it a conference, so I won't call it a conference either, but a gathering, a meeting of the minds in British Columbia. We had them on last year. I think Daniela came on. Did someone come on and talk to you too, or just Daniela come and talk to me? I think Matthew Vuk came to talk to you, right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, so we did a couple episodes with them. We're going to do at least one this time. We have a code. If you use CBP or CBP Media, you can get a ticket to that conference, or that meeting of the minds, I should say, for cheap, which I've been meaning to tell you guys, but have forgotten. And then after that, we have some other guests coming up that I won't share yet, but I did tweet about it. Heather Exner, Piero is coming on, and there's one other guest that I have in the hopper that I need to email that you guys will also know, that Len doesn't even know about yet. But looking forward to that one as well. Okay, so 20 minutes.
Bo Jackson?
It's not. 20 minutes of wasted time. Let's talk about some Bitcoin stories. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's do this very interesting story. And remember, I was talking at the beginning of the show about bull Bitcoin and why you don't want to deal with a custodial exchange. And this is a particular reason why. Is there's this woman, Canadian woman, and she's suing both Rogers Communication and Match Transact Inc. And that's a mobile store. And the reason being is because back in 2021, there was a SIM swap that was done. And through that SIM swap, 12 Bitcoin was lost. 12 Bitcoin was lost. So she must have had quite a, she had a lot of trust in an exchange to hold on to her Bitcoin at the time. And so she alleged that one of those Match employees, that's the mobile store employees, they shared information with a hacker. And so Rogers didn't provide much of a barrier. Match obviously doesn't give a fuck. They just wanted their sale. And so in the end, there was SIM swap took place. They were able to get access to whatever exchange, and away you go. So BC Supreme Court is involved in this one. They're looking at this, and they say that this has to go to arbitration. And it looks like she's going to get something back. So the Bitcoin at the time was worth around 500K. Now it's worth 1.8 million. That's what's at stake. So going back to the whole reason why you don't want to hold anything on an exchange is she got wrecked, and she's trying to make herself whole. And through the process, she has to go through all the legal channels, pay her lawyers, and all the stress that's involved, the time waste and all that. If you just simply take that off the exchange, or deal with an exchange that doesn't have any custodial whatsoever, they send it to you direct, then you have your power. You control the power of your finances. You don't have anybody else. There could be a SIM swap attack with my phone, and my Bitcoin is safe. And I'm pretty sure the same with you, Joey. So I just want to say, like, out there, please do yourself a favor. If you have anything on an exchange, take it the fuck off.
It's hard for me to understand how people are still getting SIM swapped, because even if you, like with 2FA, you should be using those authenticator apps, not SMS based 2FA, for example. And so, like, I sort of sympathize with the woman. I don't know how old she is, but my guess is she's not a spring chicken and probably made this mistake honestly, and maybe doesn't have people in her life to help guide her through something like authenticator 2FA or similar, means to protect herself. But Len, like, she's got a good point here in suing the carrier. I want to know how this turns out, because there should be some responsibility from the carrier. We're watching, a great example. Okay, Rogers today. I guess maybe not today, but in the last few days, laid off about 1,000 call center people, domestic call center people. And someone on Reddit posted in the Rogers subreddit and said, I'm going to do this anonymously, but I'll tell you right now that Rogers has been using your call data, your call recordings, to train the AI that just replaced you for the last year and a half. And so Rogers, is obviously worsening the experience for clients. I would guess also impacting the security of their client base. Like, the SIM swapping thing should never happen, but clearly is still going on. And they don't seem to care. So why shouldn't they be held liable or responsible for something like this? Wait, what is the rationale there? I think people just don't have the resources, don't have the time, but this lady decided it is worth it. And I wish her well. I wish she had done the right thing initially and just used the proper app, but can't cry over spilled milk. And this is the next best thing, in my opinion. I want to see some precedent set here.
Well, that's 100%. Rogers should be held liable. But what I am taking away from this mostly is I hope people use this as a learning experience.
Of course.
You obviously don't want to have this happen to yourself or a family member or friend. So you could just avoid it by just simply holding onto your keys. By doing that, then, if your keys are lost somehow, of course, your Bitcoin's gone. But if you do it properly, how can it be stolen, your Bitcoin keys? If those keys are generated offline, totally, like in a room that has no camera, for instance, like, how the fuck can anybody guess that? Like, it's basically that's that. So that's what I'm trying to get away from the story, and just pushing people, please just learn how to use like something like a cold card, for instance. I like a cold card. There's other good ones like that too, but I like that as a signing device. I generated my keys offline, many keys offline.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, man. Totally.
Yeah, and also, one last thing too is time lock stuff. If you time lock stuff, then you're just even further protecting yourself. Now, granted, if you don't have access to your Bitcoin until that particular time has elapsed, but it's locked. So that's another thing you could do to protect yourself. Fucking time lock stuff.
Always better than someone else having access to it right now.
Yeah,
so there you go.
Like a heck of a point. I want to talk quickly about ShakePay. They've used to sponsor our show, and you know what? I'll be frank. I used to use them when they like everybody that sponsored our show. I used the product.
Yeah,
That's the reality.
I
And
still use the ShakePay card. I still use the card.
you know what? I haven't used that in a long time. You should see the amount of data it harvests from you.
Oh,
And
probably
it's because of
tons.
that.
Probably
And
tons.
yeah, so that's
Yeah.
I didn't. Anyways, they're in the news. They're doing a lot of launches these days. It's day one of a series of launches. I don't know what's happening in the next few days, but right now today they launched USD accounts, and you could earn up to 3% on USD, and that 3% is paid in Bitcoin every week. And so you could buy and sell USD and deposits in USDC that could be converted into USD. So there's a little bit, you got the stable coin, you got the shitcoin USD. And so it's something else you could do with their platform. I know there are people out there that still use ShakePay. You may notice there's a change in their app. There's some added functionality, and now there's the ability to even put on some USD. They want your money, and they'll reward you for that.
Yeah.
It's up to you what you want to do. Do what's best.
USDC is on there too. Boomer pointing out. There's a number of different things they're apparently releasing this week. So I'll be keeping an eye on that. As much as I hate to admit it, I have a friend who just started buying Bitcoin, and I told him to use Bull. He went to ShakePay because he doesn't have a wallet, and so that's a conversation I'll have to have with him next time I see him. But they're still, I think, a pretty popular app. I haven't looked at like the App Store rankings, but my guess is they're in the top 3 or 4 in Canada for crypto apps. Probably Coinbase, a few others maybe might be in there, but I think they're probably near the top. And why not? Like you said, they're harvesting data and doing some other stuff I don't like. Like we used to bug them about the Ethereum thing. You can, in fact, FYI, bother your sponsors about selling Ethereum. Don't let anyone fool you. If you know, you know. And for all the things that they did wrong, I think they still do a lot of things right for the beginner users. Now, I don't think that beginners should be going there still because the spread is high. Bull is more secure, and really, while it's true that ShakePay has tutorials on how to take your coins off exchange and put them into a cold storage wallet, it's obviously not the default setting over there, and it should be. And I wish that they spent more time on that than they did getting USDC and USD on there. My thinking, Len, honestly, we talked about this years ago that we thought they were going to go public, and they all but told us they were going to go public at some point. Now, I don't know how long that process takes, and obviously Bitcoin has been a bit of a roller coaster in recent years, but I expect that they're going to continue to try and build out a financial services platform more than a Bitcoin platform, and the result of that will be significant for the price of the equity when it launches. But
well, they joined Payments Canada last week.
They did, yeah. So they're going that direction, right? And so like when I see all this stuff, I'm like, okay, so this is like it's Cash App basically. Like, are you gonna see stocks on there pretty soon? Are you gonna see like loan options? I don't know, but my guess is that they're going to go a lot further in that direction than they do the direction of teaching self-custody, which is fine. It's their prerogative, and I do still like the guys over there, John and Carlo and these guys. And
Carlo's still there?
Yeah, I think so. So
I'm on a one-day shake streak.
He's doing policy. I just opened it up. Nice.
I shook it. I got my 1 day 21 sats.
Good for you. But yeah, I looking at all that stuff, I think they're going in a direction that if you're a Bitcoiner, it's hard to justify spending your time and your money over there when you could be spending it with a place like Bull, right? And I'm not just saying that because they're a sponsor of the show, but it's obvious, right? And then I see another one that's popular and like obviously under a little bit of fire right now, Bitcoin Well, because Predator had some stuff on them. They also sell Ethereum. Like you could just not sell it and be done with it, but they keep selling it and ignoring questions about it and not really talking about it. And I think Bull Bitcoin is the only place you can go where you get, we joke about it in the sponsor read sometimes. They're extremists, and you need to be an extremist in a world where everyone is gunning for your Bitcoin. It's not about how much USD you can hold or how much USDC you can hold. Both of them are options on ShakePay. It's about how much Bitcoin can you hold. And you're seeing now, a true evolution away from USD in a lot of ways. And these guys decided this is the right time to offer it. I disagree with that view. And I think a lot of Bitcoiners do as well.
Now, to your friend who's buying and I guess still holding on ShakePay,
it's my it's actually my wife's cousin Josh. What's up, Josh?
Okay. Josh, get a blue wallet at least to start off. This will give you an opportunity to take it off ShakePay. And that way you can start learning how to hold on to your own Bitcoin and your own keys. That's a very good start.
Send me a cold card. D's coming to my house for dinner on next Saturday. So D, bring a cold card with you, free of charge, obviously. MVK, please, for me, and I'll give it to Josh.
Yeah,
and
if he wants to still buy from ShakePay, that's I have no problems with that because he's beginning his Bitcoin journey. So the one thing I just hopefully he listens to this advice is this last story is a good indication why you don't want to take off your Bitcoin from the exchange.
And like, do you think it's going to get more? We're not breaking any news here for people who listen to this show, but do you think it's going to get less frequent that like call centers are targeted for SIM swaps as Bitcoin's price goes up, or you think it's going to get it's going to become more frequent?
Oh, definitely more frequent.
No chance, right? So
yeah, you're not going to get SIM swapped and then had your Bitcoin stolen from Bold Bitcoin. Because there's no Bitcoin that they fucking hold for you. No.
Plus, who's going to get like when you call Bull Bitcoin, Guillaume picks up. Like Guillaume's not going to. He's not going to.
He's going to say the Leafs suck and then fucking hang up the phone.
Like he's not going to get got by you. Give me a break.
All right, let's talk about the Chivo wallet.
Yeah, sure.
And it was good to know it, I suppose, because or good riddance. I don't know. I haven't used this because it's something that's for people who are in El Salvador. For people who aren't familiar, Chivo. Yeah, this is a sad story. The music, yeah.
Keep talking. Yeah, I'll turn the volume down.
A software wallet, and it was developed by the El Salvador government so that you could transact in your Bitcoin because Bitcoin was legal tender there. It still kind of is in a way, but it's now being kind of pushed to the side. A lot of mixed reviews with Chivo. You heard a lot of people doing, it worked, and other people it didn't work also well. There was a $30 bonus too for signing up. Remember, not for people who want to encourage them.
Many months ago.
Yeah. Well, Chivo used Lightning, and that was the way it transacted. And through the pressure of the IMF, El Salvador is now at the point that Chivo is going to be mothballed, and it's going to be done so at the end of this month of July of 2025. And that's all from the $1.4 billion loan that they secured from the IMF. And they have plans to try to sell it, but if not, they'll just simply discontinue it, and that's it. And with that $1.4 billion loan, I said it before in a different chat, is that they jumped the queue. They should have went to Bitcoin Treasury strategy, and they could have got listed on NASDAQ ES or something like that. And then they could have easily just diluted the fuck out of that company, pay off all the bills that external debt they have. And so that's what happens. Don't play chicken with the IMF. Find some other ways to do business.
Are we done with El Salvador as a Bitcoin country now? Are we finished with these guys?
Well,
how many people? How many simply Bitcoin thumbnails? How many more do we need to see? Okay, out there, El Salvador outsmarting the IMF. Get fucking real, okay? Get real. It's not like this is never gonna.
But you know what? There's gonna be another country that adopts it, right, Joey?
Who?
No, I'm not saying who, but it's inevitable. There's gonna be another country that adopts Bitcoin, right?
We gotta get a picture of that. The president of that country has to have a picture with his mouth open. We can slap on a thumbnail there. I feel like what is that meme with the guy slapping the hood of a car? You know how many surprise faces we can fit in this bad boy? Fucking tons of them.
And you know what? Once they do that, they'll be offering up property over there, and you can retire there for 0.01 Bitcoin, and you'll be sitting on a beach. Wonderful. It'll be good times.
So true. Once this billionaire does a $1 trillion Bitcoin backflip, you can retire on 0.01 Bitcoin. Oh, God. Right. Kill me.
Let's talk about the Bitcoin miners, and they are fucked, it looks like. And I'll even, before I go into this story, just today we had Core Scientific. They were bought out by
acquired.
Yeah, $9 billion.
CoreWeave. That's crazy. That's
a lot of capital.
That's more than an NBA team is worth. NBA teams are like, I think the Lakers just sold. They didn't sell the whole team, obviously, but if you extrapolate out the Buss family shares that were sold, that team is worth $12 billion. Celtics, I think last year or beginning of this offseason, maybe sold for the equivalent of 6 and change, just around 6 point something, maybe 7. So, CoreWeave is worth, or was it Core or CoreWeave that was picked up?
Core Scientific was.
Core Scientific, yeah. So Core was picked up for more than the Boston Celtics are worth.
So first at $10 billion, which is going to be valued at $10 billion first in your eyes? Core or the LA Lakers?
Lakers are at 12. Celtics will be. Celtics will be at 10 before Core is.
Sorry, okay.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, so that's one, but another one, Argo, and that's another one of it's very old, publicly traded Bitcoin, one of the older ones out there.
We used to talk about this all the time when the show first started, the Bitcoin equities, right? Yeah, but
it's time to talk about
for so many of them.
Time to talk about it because they're almost ready to get buried. Talking about Argo because they're at the point of insolvency, and it's all thanks to there's the increase in difficulty of mining, and that's been going on since the beginning of Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
And these guys are bleeding cash to the point where they may not have any going forward, and that's going to cause them obviously a big problem. But they do have a lifeline, Joey.
What is it?
They do have a lifeline. A company by the name of Growler Mining provided them. This is fucking incredible stuff, by the way. These terms: $7.5 million in emergency funds, and the interest rate is the secured overnight financing rate, like essentially the central bank what the rate is, plus 6%.
Oh, cheap.
So it's a minimum of 10% plus commitment and exit fees on top of that. So they basically got put over the barrel and just fucking railed. So Growler expects to receive at least 80% of the enlarged share capital of Argo, and that's the total number of shares the company has issued. Shareholders fucking wrecked through the process. Yeah. Bondholders are going to get equity through common stock, and that's about $40 billion for people that are counting at home. And Argo will cease to exist on the London Stock Exchange. Still be traded on NASDAQ, though. So they give them credit over there. But this is it. Like, this is a company, very old. They were in the Bitcoin mine, but you know what? They weren't able to adapt. And because they didn't have the ability to adapt, when mining gets adopted and has been adopted by companies like Shell, like whatever the fuck, they have the ability just to monetize energy that has not been monetized before.
Okay, also,
and energy producers too.
Don't forget, when we were talking about those companies, first of all, I want to point out to people that mining as an equity play and a reasonable position to have in your stock portfolio basically went downhill as soon as Dean Linden left. What was the name of the company he was there? He was doing Luxfolio. As soon as Luxfolio gave him the boot, that's when Bitcoin mining companies as shareholder value plays started to go downhill. Number one, just want to point that out. Number two, the thing that people liked about those companies, if I'm not mistaken, was basically those stock prices ripped on two events, right? One was we're adding hash rate, or we have a roadmap for hash rate. And two was we're adding Bitcoin to our balance sheet. We had the BitFarms CFO, God, I can't remember his name. He was such a great guest.
Gagnon.
No, Ben is the CEO. Jeff Lucas was on, and he was talking to us about the synthetic HODL strategy they had with options and stuff. Very good. It seems very well-rounded, very responsible. And BitFarms, through ups and downs, has been sustaining operations. They're kind of operating under the radar in a lot of ways. No one's talking about them like they were 3 years ago, but clearly a company that's doing things right and not going the way of these press releases every day and extreme, opportunity, AI and this and that, even though they are doing a little bit of that. So you got these kinds of companies, and, Len, now if you want exposure to Bitcoin, you just buy a treasury company, and the replacement for the hash map, the roadmap to more hash rate is, here's our plan for 42 million Bitcoin, right? Sailor's 21 plus 21 presentation from last year, November-ish, right? So,
why does he talk about 42 million? You should get 142.
He actually did. Bitcoin. He actually expanded it. He actually expanded it a few months ago. You may
trillion
know or
Bitcoin.
Not know.
What the fuck are you talking about?
So these guys, the miners, operate in a difficult space. I said this on the program then. I've said it to our friend SB privately, and I think also on the show, and I'll say it again now. The miners don't make sense as an investment. for two or three reasons. You know, some of them I've already touched on, but I'll try and be specific here. One is that they're an impossibly difficult industry to compete in. Two is that they are always forced sellers of Bitcoin. That's the nature of their business. And three is that they understand, the miners understand that Bitcoin mining is not a good business. And so they know that they're uninvestable as Bitcoin miners. And so they pivot to AI and data, but they're also not good AI or data plays. You can get better AI and data plays too. You know, check the NVIDIA versus pick your Bitcoin miner over the last 3 or 4 years, or fuck, probably other AI adjacent plays as well. They're not investable. And I think mining is going to become very, very difficult at the industrial level. And like you mentioned there's going to be giants coming into this thing at some point in the next 5 years, if not sooner. And that's what you're going to have, you know, that's all there is to it. Not to mention that if you're a Bitcoin miner now, like you have Meta and Amazon buying nuclear facilities to power data centers. You know, what's Iron doing? Does Iron have a nuclear facility? Would they even be able to get one if they tried? No, they wouldn't.
They're 50 exahash right now. I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
They're fucking tapped into the
in
grid.
10,
Or they
in
produce
10
their own.
years,
I don't know.
in 10 years, they're going to be a fucking zero. And so are all the other Bitcoin miners. Because as soon as oil, gas, and nuclear start to really proliferate in terms of their Bitcoin mining outfits, those guys are done. I don't see how they last. Who in their right mind thinks that, you know, these companies are going to be able to outcompete power players from 300 years ago that are still on top of the world today, like, or 200 years ago, I guess. Like, what is the likelihood?
No,
of that? It's
100%.
basically zero. Yeah.
But
Go ahead.
you're looking at stuff now. This has matured. This industry has matured to the point where now we're able to look at years of data.
Yeah.
Right. So like and you're 100% right. It's going to go downhill. It's going to continually go downhill, and people that invest in it, they're going to get wrecked in the process. But I just wanted to use this as a time just to have a point a picture of what's going on, paint a picture of what's going on right now with these Bitcoin treasury companies, these zombie companies. They produce fucking nothing aside from just raising debt. And so Bitcoin miners at one time, they were, I guess, the darling of the Bitcoin, you know, people like to invest in them. But, you know, years later, we see they're not. It was just fool's gold, so to speak. And the same could happen with these treasury companies. A lot of them, they look all great, right? You might be able to make some money, but who knows? In a few years, once that industry is matured, you look back and say, fuck, could it withstand a 50% drop in Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin does go down 50%.
Yeah.
It's done it quite a bit. Like, can these companies withstand that with all who the hell knows?
Well,
I don't know.
I think there's like, how deep do I want to go on this? There's a reasonable expectation that MicroStrategy will be fine.
They're the only ones.
And Semler may also be fine in the medium term because there's no way to get exposure over there in Japan. Or Metaplanet, sorry, not Semler. So, you know, you have the jurisdictional arbitrage of Metaplanet and the debt structuring and the new pref offerings over at MSTR that make this sort of a worthwhile endeavor for those companies.
It's these companies that have they produce nothing. They're zombie companies.
Yes.
They're
shout out by the way to Phil. Coin Icarus did a stream today that I caught about 15 minutes of, talking about exactly this, Len, that these guys they're zombie companies. Like, you're investing in something that wasn't working an hour ago, and they announced that they're going to put a bunch of money into Bitcoin, and now their stock's up 150%.
That's
like,
incredible.
You be the judge.
And
you know,
I can't blame companies that do adopt this strategy, because all the data shows that it fucking works, at least for the short term. If I wanted to pump the valuation of my company, I would do the exact same thing. But it does not say that this is the right thing to do. I'm just saying, if I was in the position of being a CEO of a zombie company, I would certainly look at the option of adopting Bitcoin strategy and fucking do the same thing that's being done at these others. Does it mean you shouldn't invest in it? Do whatever the fuck you want. I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck. It's your choice. It's your money. Do what the fuck you want. I'm just trying to say, like, what's going to happen here with the Bitcoin miners. Look what happened over a period of time. A lot of people liked them. Now they don't. And so with these zombie companies, they provide nothing. Zero. There's no value there whatsoever. And the only thing you're really hedging your bet on is Bitcoin continually goes up in price. And if it doesn't go up, if it goes down, they have nothing to fall back on. More debt, more liquidation. Oh, so dilution. Sorry, that's really their only strategies. That's not a winning strategy. These guys are just having fun. If you think about it, man, you're telling them you're going, instead of taking your money and buying Bitcoin, you're saying, oh, you know what? I'm going to move that money in the bank into my brokerage, and from that, I'm going to buy equity in this company.
Take a risk. Take a risk.
Try to increase the value of that company, and they're going to somehow use that increased value to buy more Bitcoin through dilution or raising of capital. And you're telling them that you want them to hold on to your Bitcoin. I don't want fucking ShakePay holding my Bitcoin. I don't want these guys holding on. And on top of that, I got to somehow get my gains, 5, 6, 7, 8 figures worth of gains, and convert that into Bitcoin later on.
Yeah.
I don't think I can.
It might be hard. I mean, you say it all the time. It might be hard. The thing I would just note here, I'll play devil's advocate for a second. There are still people, I think, who, I'm not necessarily opposed to this. If you want to buy MicroStrategy in your TFSA because you have room and like, I can't fault you for that. Len and I have a disagreement on whether or not that's a good idea or at what exposure level it's a good idea or a bad idea, maybe. But I still think there's a lot of people who use those vehicles and want to get the price appreciation to do things in their lives with the TFSA. I am among them. So I understand that point of view.
Person that we know, and I kind of feel sorry for him in a way because he's slightly older than me, I believe. Mm-hmm. And he mentioned that he has RSPs and he's using those RSPs to buy these companies. And if he takes it out, obviously he's going to take a hit because it's going to be, he's still working and all. So he wants to, I would imagine, save this for retirement. So he's kind of painted himself into a corner because of this fiat system he's in. And I kind of feel sorry for him. Like
RRSP, I would not be using for this. Yeah.
But that's what he's using. He's probably, think about it. If he's a little bit older than me, he probably has invested in that for a number of years. So he has a significant amount of capital in there. What else? What is he going to do with it? Buy gold stocks? Right? He's kind of just, and that's what I hate about the system. You don't get access to it. It's not yours. You got to beg. And even when you beg, who the fuck knows where it's going to end up? It could get wrecked in the end because it's just through. Look what happened in Egypt. Look what happened in Lebanon. Overnight, their currencies were wrecked. And not the same thing is going to happen in Canada. It's probably not. I think the likelihood of that happening in Canada is very slim. But I'd rather opt on side on 0% versus very slim because I only have one life. If I fuck up, that's it. I don't want to work when I'm 70. I want to have fun when I'm 70. And so, at least for me, and I know my situation is different than everybody else's because I have very little RSPs and my TFSA is near zero now. But that works for me. It doesn't work for everybody. Just, you know what? Do what you guys got to do. To be honest, I don't give a fuck. I just, like I said somewhere else, I hope you have access to your capital when it comes time to get access to your capital, and you're able to use that in a way you want to use it. Because the way things are trending, I can't guarantee that in 10 years. Maybe probably 5, but 10, 15.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure.
You want to buy a car and you can't even get cars.
RRSPs are tough. Yeah, it's tough to sell me on putting money in Bitcoin treasury companies and other stuff in your RRSP. Like, you're better off just buying Bitcoin, I think. Yeah, I see in the chat, like, a question I see all the time that, these guys are going to be able to just pick up companies on the cheap down the road with all the Bitcoin they have. I'm not sure that's the case. What companies, presumably if you're buying MicroStrategy or other companies with that in mind, the question I would have for you is, why don't you just buy the cash flowing companies now? And if you think that the cash flowing companies are going to be, picked up on the cheap by the Bitcoin treasury companies, then what makes you think the Bitcoin treasury companies are going to be able to turn those companies that were cash flowing into something that makes sense, like as investable? It's hard. It's kind of hard to do that math. Maybe I'm missing something, but it doesn't add up to me.
Why does somebody buy XRP, Ethereum?
Yeah, they think it's going to go up. Yeah, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And that they are rolling the dice and hoping whatever they put in, they'll be able to get a multiple of that out.
Yeah.
That's what their intention is. And you know what? That is by definition shitcoining. Right? That's what it is. It's a fucking
that's a
gamble.
fair point.
You have no access to your capital. It's somebody else that has to control it for you. You can't verify anything. Like it's by every check, like it's check. It's a shitcoin. And you know what? If people want to do it, like I say, I don't give a fuck. I honestly don't care. And if companies want to buy Bitcoin, I don't give a fuck either. It does not bother me one bit. Actually, I encourage companies to buy Bitcoin. What I prefer, though, if I had an option, though, it would be companies that have cash on hand, like just excess amount, and they put 1% of their cash
treasury,
treasury, something like that. At least they're not wrecking anybody. They're not diluting or they're not going into debt. They're just using what they've accumulated over the years and just buying some Bitcoin. I would love to see that. And that seems to be a more prudent model. It's boring and it may not lead to fantastic riches, but it won't lead to ruins at the same time.
Yeah, it's good. It's good money management. I'll just address Jason's comment in the chat. The S&P and let it ride for registered. I don't think there's anything wrong with buying this stuff in your TFSA as long as you have a short time horizon. But like, I would not. This is not financial advice. I would not be putting any money in my RSP if I was you guys. That's money that would go into Bitcoin for me. So that's my strategy. I don't put anything in my registered account. Now I have a pension, so who knows what that'll be worth in 20, 30 years. But I still think like the idea that you're going to sit in fiat when there's clearly a pathway to zero, or at least an accelerated rate of debasement over the next, even the 5 years, right? I mean, we're going to talk about the big, beautiful bill in the back half of the show, but that's going to add something like 10 trillion total debt over 3.5 or 4 trillion over 10 years. It's 5 trillion more on the debt ceiling. And that's without really knowing what the Federal Reserve is going to do. If money gets easier in September or October, then that number is going to go up. And by the way, Powell is out in 26. And so you're going to start seeing markets price that in as well. Like things are going to get hairy for people who are in cash in the next little while. Now, it's funny to talk to Bitcoiners about this because Bitcoiners who are my age, Len's age, a little younger than me, let's say, are all seeing this now for the first time, right? Like, man, I can't be in cash because, even a year went by and I can't buy the same amount of steaks. I can't buy the same amount of tuxedos, can't buy the same amount of gold bars, right? Things that are historical sort of measures of value. Other people, wealthy people have known that for a long time. And there's more and more people that the pinch is coming down the ladder so quickly that people, who have like, let's say a 6-figure sum of Bitcoin, are realizing now that they can't sit in cash. They have to keep enough cash to keep the lights on and the heat on, and that's about it. And I think a lot of people are coming to that realization, and like that's going to drive the price up too. Like the idea that the price is not going to outperform fiat or the S&P, I think is like that's not a bet I would take.
In the long run, it's certainly.
And don't forget,
Bitcoin. Who knows?
Like nominally, okay, like is the S&P going to go to 8,000? Maybe, but like. What is that at 8,000 S&P? What is the dollar worth? Like the denominator, what is it worth at that
How many
point?
Ford 150s could I buy? For example, with
who knows, right? Who knows? So
is it going to cost 120 grand to get that one?
Someone was telling me at a party, I was at a birthday party for a 1-year-old yesterday. Times are changing for me, obviously. And someone was telling me that a base level F-150 is about $80,000 Canadian.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I had no idea it was that much.
I like to use something like that. And it's not a true comparison, but because now you're putting more computers, more.
But there's
shit
still
into
value in knowing that price. You're right.
Yeah, exactly. But and that's a good indication how poorly the dollar has retained its value. In the past, you probably could have got one for 30,000. I mean, we're talking many, many years ago, but now you're to 80 grand. Like, what the fuck is that? And so you don't look at other things. Don't look at comparison to US dollar. Like, look at like actual things that are made, shit like that. Price of homes, for instance, is a good one.
Yeah.
But even that, it kind of could. So the problem with the homes, though, it could easily adjust the price of it because if you bring in more people, you're increasing the demand for it, so the prices are going to go up. For cars, for like an F-150, they're going to build as many as they have to, right?
Yeah.
And so the price is not going to be adjusting based on more people
Scarcity.
coming to Canada.
Yeah,
It is what it is.
Anyway,
Anyways,
there you go.
let's say we end this. Fuck, we had some more to talk about, but like,
Do you want to do one more
for
quick
instance-
one? What do you?
No,
like,
we'll go for too long, I think.
Okay, sure. Let's cut it. Stay with us if you're on video. I can see a number of you guys are here watching and listening and whatever. I get notifications on my watch when someone subscribes to us on Rumble. It's been vibrating, which is funny. I didn't realize that happened. So yeah, if you're with us now, stay with us. And if you're on audio, then come back tomorrow for the back half, the notable stories as we call them. Till then, take care of yourself.
And don't leave your Bitcoin on the exchange.